This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Speaking out, a Pictou County man abused by his father urges other sexual assault survivors to break their silence.
Price drop. Nova Scotia drivers are now paying a lot less at the pumps without the federal carbon tax.
And funding boost, how this mobile food market hopes to make fresh food more accessible.
Our latest system continues to clear. Lots of sunshine on tap for Wednesday, but temperatures pretty brisk. Your full forecast is coming up.
If you are filling up the car, it's now a lot cheaper at the pumps.
As expected, there was a big drop in gas prices in the province. The price is around 17 cents lower now that the federal carbon tax has come off the price of fuel.
The new minimum price is $1.46.5 per litre in the Halifax area. The CBC's Brett Ruskin has more.
The rain has been coming down here in Halifax and the gas prices too, not just here, but in many parts of the country. Taking a look at savings between 15 cents and 20 cents per litre in places with the carbon tax removed. So I took a before and after picture yesterday and then early this morning showing the differences at gas pumps for drivers with fuel tanks around 50 litres or so is kind of a solid average. That means around $10 per fill-up in savings as a result of the carbon tax being removed. This applies to Newfoundland, Labrador, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, New Brunswick, Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, and in BC, they've removed the provincial carbon tax as well, so savings there too. Why is this happening? Well, this was one of the first moves by Mark Carney when he became Prime Minister last month. Just within hours of being sworn in, he issued a prime ministerial directive to eliminate the carbon tax. Now, if the carbon tax sounds familiar, it might be because of his opponent. The Conservative leader has been repeating the refrain, axe the tax, for months, years now, ever since it was introduced back in 2019. That's the tax he was referring to. That's the tax that has now been removed. There is still the larger industrial carbon tax for some of the larger emitters in the country. That still remains in place. But as for everyday consumers, everyday drivers going to the pumps, this is going to mean significant savings there the next time they fill up. Brett Ruskin, CBC News, Halifax.
Also now in effect is the provincial government's promised HST cut. HST is down from 15% to 14%. And the minimum wage is higher today by 50 cents an hour to $15.70. There will be another minimum wage increase later this year. Some people in Halifax told CBC News the wage increase is a good start, but it's still not enough.
Never enough, because the cost of living is so desperately high that I don't know how anybody survives on minimum wage.
Good thing for all the people that are trying to work, get some money. Making money, and especially buying things nowadays is pretty expensive, so it's kind of hard to work minimum wage and not get everything you need to live. So it's a good thing that minimum wage is going up.
I think it's a start, but I don't think it's enough. I don't think it matches cost of living. Even minimal cost of living.
It's not enough though for a lot of people right now. Rent in the city is like very high, and the price of groceries as well. So it's not enough, but it's a good start. And
I have friends of mine who have 3 or 4 jobs because one job is not enough. So, and that's not right at all.
A man is dead after being shot Monday night in Dartmouth. Halifax Regional Police say officers responded to reports of gunfire on Ancona Place around 9 p.m. When officers arrived, they found a man who'd been shot outside a residence. He was pronounced dead at the scene. The victim has been identified as 37-year-old Cortrell Thomas. Police do not believe the shooting was random, and they say they are searching for 2 suspects who fled the scene.
A Pictou County man who was abused by his father is making a plea to other sexual assault survivors to break their silence. Doug Robertson was the special guest at a first-of-its-kind march held on the issue in Truro. As Gareth Hampshire tells us, Robertson wants people to know there is help available.
People from Truro and around the region carried signs and wore blue hats to stand in solidarity with survivors of sexual violence. Doug Robertson, who kept his own experience of abuse secret for about 47 years, was the keynote speaker.
You can't stay silent. It hurts too much. There's too much out there for help.
He was invited after showing courage in revealing how his father preyed on him for years. And because he's doing better, now that people know what he went through, and his father has pleaded guilty.
I have my own control back. I have my own words. I don't got to worry about this little monster on my shoulder anymore.
He's received warmly by those attending, brought together by the Colchester Sexual Assault Centre.
He is the voice for the voiceless right now. He's shown impeccable strength. This fight was for a long time, and he showed up, and he's just been so strong.
The march goes through the centre of Truro with a clear message.
We're wanting to end the silence. We need to talk more about it. We need to listen to the survivors, and we need to, we need to protect people. We need to protect one another.
And the crowd grows as it continues.
Like, I know friends that have been impacted by sexual assault and sexual violence. So I'm here kind of in part for them, as well as just helping prevent it from happening to more people.
But I feel like this needs to be an annual thing.
Yes.
But I think it'll really help, and there's a great turnout today. It's a lot of people.
It's also a fundraiser Robertson wants to be part of to help other victims. He used to share the same name as his father, but changing it cost about $1,000. So he wants others to get support with the costs they might face. Speaking about such trauma has been hard, but he wants to empower others.
I put my fears aside, I guess, and I did this here to maybe help people, and that's what I wanted to do.
And he's being honoured for his dedication by his family and the event organisers. Gareth Hampshire, CBC News, Truro.
Ryan Snoddon with us now, and like a lot of us, he's beginning to dry out a little bit.
Yes, the rain finally coming to an end.
Yeah, that's right, wringing things out after quite a bit of rain, especially along the south coast of the province. And as we look at the forecast, as we look forward into Wednesday, it's looking beautiful. And you can see lots of sunshine. Now, we may see a flurry in the morning on Wednesday for the northeast, and flurries lingering into the afternoon for Inverness County, especially north of Mabu. That's where we'll have our greatest chance. Port Hawkesbury down to Port Hood, those areas in the morning could see a flurry. But otherwise, we're looking at a lot of sunshine on Wednesday. Northwest winds still a bit of a bite in the morning with temperatures around -5, so make sure you're ready for that. But temperatures warming up into the afternoon for most, still remaining below the freezing mark in through Cape Breton. Now, as we look at the forecast moving forward, the sunshine's here for a good time, not a long time. Again, the active pattern continues. The next system rolls in through Thursday with more snow, ice pellets, freezing rain, and rain. We'll walk you through it with your full timeline and 7-day coming up.
We'll be ready for it.
Thanks,
okay.
Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is campaigning in Atlantic Canada. On Monday, he was in New Brunswick. Earlier today, he was in Newfoundland and Labrador. And tonight, he's on Prince Edward Island. There is no word when he will make a campaign stop in Nova Scotia. During his tour of the region, Poilievre made promises to support oil and gas production and the fishery. The CBC's Heather Gillis reports from St. John's.
These are all the demands.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre checked this province off his to-do list with 2 campaign stops in Newfoundland and Labrador Tuesday. First up, Olympic Construction's warehouse in St. John's, where he promised to support the provincial Liberal government's plan to double oil and gas production.
I also will grant rapid permits for LNG Newfoundland Labrador, which will pipe gas from the Jandark oil field to a floating liquefaction facility, which will then be shipped off to Europe to break European dependence on Putin and turn dollars for dictators into paychecks for our people.
Meanwhile, on the wharf, Poilievre's second event of the day was tightly controlled, shutting down some reporter questions to Avalon candidate Steve Kent.
There's a picture of you going around on social media wearing a Make America Great. Thank you.
This event isn't open for questions.
Staffers also jostled multiple reporters. Meanwhile, Poilievre made announcements on promising to end fishing bans in marine protected areas and push out foreign fishing.
To give back control and quota to our fish harvesters, We will double the permanent funding available for Canada's small craft harbours.
Meanwhile, Polyev also said that he's open to considering changes to Marine Atlantic fees. That's because he says people in this province have a right to get across the country just like anyone else. Heather Gillis, CBC News, St. John's.
Nova Scotia Liquor Corporation's third quarter saw a dive in both sales and profits. Compared to the previous year, total sales were down by 0.6%, which resulted in a drop in earnings of 5.4%. Sales of both alcohol and cannabis fell by 1.1% and 2.7%. But Nova Scotia-made alcohol products did see higher sales, especially for craft beer and ready-made drinks.
The Nova Scotia Municipality is selling a wind turbine it's had for nearly 10 years. The Municipality of Barrington is looking to sell or lease the 50-kilowatt turbine and the land it sits on. The tower was built in 2015 by a private company, but then went out of business soon after. The municipality has run it since. The town says the turbine has brought in thousands of dollars a year in revenue, but it's time to move on. The municipality is accepting the offers for the turbine until April the 11th.
A big boost for the mobile food market. Regional Council has approved an increase in their funding from $75,000 to more than $175,000. And I'm here in Dartmouth with Executive Director Mandy Chapman. So some very welcome news for you, I imagine.
Very welcome.
Was it a surprise?
It wasn't a surprise. We had put in an ask for it. We had budgeted to know what our needs were coming up, and we were hopeful that the city would say yes, and it was unanimous.
Well, what more can you do with this increase?
Well, we were given a grant last year, and we had hired a term position, which allowed us to grow our capacity, and we're actually able to keep that position now. So we're going to be operating the same as we have for the last year. We'll just be able to have that staff here. We'll be able to be in more seniors buildings, have every Saturday markets, and increase our capacity to community.
And the demand for your services, how much has it grown?
It's doubled in the last year, almost doubled. So we've seen a real increase in people visiting our markets, and we actually, since January 7th, we have about 35 community organizations on a wait list for our services. So the need is great. We will need more staff, of course, in the future to be able to meet that need, but right now it's going to allow us to do exactly what we're doing, and that is to provide fresh, affordable, dignified food access to community.
Well, describe the experience for a customer who comes in here.
Yeah.
What's it like?
Well, I think it's always, people always are really excited to come to our market, maybe a little bit nervous, and they say, how does it work? So they walk in, they shop, just like anywhere else. They have baskets and they go up and down the aisles. We have beautiful produce. It's high quality and affordable. So it's around 89% cheaper than grocery stores. And we say it's for anyone who feels they can use their food dollar stretching.
And you had been in, of course, the bus, and
Yes.
this is your permanent location, but you haven't abandoned being mobile entirely.
Exactly, that's right. So we have our 3 community markets. We have this one inside, and then we're inside during the winter months as well, but we take our bus out on the road to Fairview and to North End, Halifax every Saturday.
Do you see the need slowing down even?
It's definitely not. So the need has increased. We know that 1 in 5 Nova Scotians are food insecure. We have the highest food insecurity rates. And the mobile food market is, we're not a food bank. We are offering a solution to mitigate the risk of food insecurity so that people have another option, so they don't need to be at a grocery store where there's increasing prices all the time. So people can just shop here, and we see the smiles on people's faces, and we see stress leave their body when they get to the till and they know that they just walked out with a huge bag of produce that's healthy and affordable, and it just takes that mental health stress away. It improves their quality of life by offering nutritious food.
And this increase in funding, is that for 1 year, or do you have a commitment for more than that?
It's a 4-year agreement with the city, so we'll see a small increment every year for the next 4 years to account for inflation.
All right, well, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
You're welcome, thank you.
Yeah, it's kind of a foggy shot of the McKay Bridge. Very gray.
Dim day for sure.
Absolutely. Well, Ryan is back with his full weather forecast. We'll see you in just a bit.
Yeah, the old rain was hitting the window panes pretty hard, that's for sure.
Yeah, driving was a bit tricky.
Yeah, definitely some hydroplaning issues for this morning. And yeah, we've been watching the skies clear slowly from west to east. The clouds are now breaking up over central parts of the province. We'll show you the satellite in a sec. But first, the proof in the pudding here with a beautiful webcam from Burnt Coat Head. Beautiful spot, of course. And yeah,
nasty weather moved on.
Yeah,
yes, thankfully.
Nice to see some blue sky there, and it is breaking up over the metro area as well right now. Look at the temperature highs. Wow. Now, some of these were actually overnight into the very wee morning hours of Tuesday. Temperatures, of course, have been falling since then, and we're down into the low to mid single digits across the board. And you can see the winds have obviously become a big factor today, with the northwest winds ushering in the cooler temperatures. We're sustained in the 20, 30, 40 kilometer per hour range of Yarmouth, gusting to 50 kilometers per hour in Yarmouth right now, as well as Lunenburg gusting to 41. Sydney just shy of a 50 kilometer per hour gust at last check. So there's the bulk of the rain along the cold front, and then some lingering showers have now just cleared away for Cape Breton as we look at the last 6-hour loop here. And the back edge of that cloud cover now working its way through with some patchy drizzle, but that is on its way east of the metro area as well. And we're looking at the clearing and the drier air moving into the province for tonight. High pressure to follow it up, which will help with some brighter skies and some sunshine on tap for your Wednesday. This is the next system. And again, it is a messy one. We've got snow, ice pellets, more freezing rain coming to southern Ontario, unfortunately, and a lot of rain. This is going to bring a big shot of rain up in through the eastern third of the U.S. And for us, it will bring some rain as well, but more of a messy mix for us as we look at the temperatures across North America right now. The mildest of air, warmest of air squeezed to the south, looking pretty spring-like across Canada still this week. Now, as we look at the temperatures for tonight, we're going to be dropping into about the minus 4 to 6 range for most. A little milder in through the southwest. Cape Breton right around -3 for overnight lows. Those northwest winds sustained near 20 to 30, gusting 40 to 50 kilometers per hour for Cape Breton and the northeast. And as we watch the clouds clear, it is going to be a really, really nice, quiet night tonight. Those clouds stubborn for Wednesday, and the chance for some flurries in the morning, Pictou and Antigonish, and into Cape Breton. Into the afternoon, the chance really is just north of Mabu and in towards perhaps Antigonish. Also possible to see a flurry into the afternoon. We are going to be looking at temperatures right around -2 for Cape Breton with the northwest winds, 30 gusting 40 to 50 kilometers per hour. And you can see temperatures will be right around the freezing mark for Antigonish into the eastern parts of the mainland and up the Northumberland shore as well. Temperatures 1 to 2 on the plus side in and around Cobequid Bay, maybe as mild as 3 in the metro area, and back into the southwest is where we'll have our best chance of getting up towards, say, 4 degrees, Lunenburg, Liverpool, and Shelburne, with temperatures right near the freezing mark in through the valley. So high pressure moving off to the east, the next system moving in. Now this will spread snow in throughout the afternoon. The morning commute should be okay, maybe a few flakes in the west, and then this will spread in snow, ice pellets, freezing rain, and then rain throughout Thursday afternoon. And so expect a pretty slushy, slick drive home on Thursday. Not going to be a pleasant one. We'll need to make sure the windshield washer fluid is topped up. I do think for the most part it is going to be messy as we will be transitioning, but the potential there, before we change to rain in the evening, the potential for kind of a widespread 2 to 5 slushy centimeters. I think the best chances of getting up towards 5, maybe as much as 10, are going to be higher terrain areas on the 104 stretch and into the Cape Breton region. Now, this will, again, all change to rain through Thursday evening. We'll see some lingering showers into Friday, and then temperatures are going to be kind of falling throughout the day on Friday. This is the trough that may bring a flake for Friday into the overnight, but for the most part, it is a chance for some just showers on Friday. Quiet on Saturday. We'll do it all over again on Sunday with another messy mix.
Yep, that's
Lots
the pattern.
happening, isn't there? Yeah,
early April.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Coming up, how people in Nova Scotia's rural communities are navigating the affordable housing crisis. Welcome back. The affordable housing crisis is not just hitting big cities. It's affecting rural communities too. CBC's Information Morning has been visiting rural communities to see how they're changing.
In Digby, they heard about several people who are navigating the housing crisis the best they can, but it hasn't been easy.
It looks like a nice house, it really does. But when you really live in it, it's not. Underneath the sink is all that's wet, and that's all pure mold under that. This is all really bad.
Christine Klomp shot this on the day her family moved from their rental house in Brighton outside Digby. After 8 months of searching for affordable housing in the area, they found a place a 3-hour drive away.
The house was pretty well hell that we lived in. There was mold. We lived with a lot of mice, and the house was very cold. So we had to wear a lot of coats. The water we could not drink. We had to go purchase water.
Like, look, the wall is so, oops. Okay, I can't do that anymore because I don't want to cause any damage.
This part is hard because it was, supposed to be our forever home. We didn't have to worry about anything. And that was all taken away from us. We have nothing now. We had jobs, everything, and that was all gone now. So it's just hard watching how it all crumbled.
But leaving Digby behind isn't an option for some in substandard housing, so the community helps where it can. On Friday mornings, volunteers at St. Pat's Community Kitchen serve as many as 80 people in need. Volunteers such as Teresa McKinnon have heard about places infested with rats and bed bugs, people living in non-winterized cabins, and a family living out of a van.
The only thing I could do at the time was give them food, and, at least they had a hot meal.
They're getting a good 2 meal in this cup.
The buildings are condemned, and there's not enough apartment buildings, and there's one just burned up in Digby, and a guy lost his life on account of it. And they're not fit to live in, and the government should pick up and help make more housing.
Wood rents a room in a house for $350 a month. She says she's been on the waiting list for provincial housing for 2.5 years.
There's a lot of homeless. They're roaming the streets and everything else, and they got nowhere to go.
Oh, hi, Marlene.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Portia.
Hi, Portia. Nice to meet you.
Great to meet you, too.
Come on in.
Okay, thank you.
I looked around and I called a few places and I asked, but there was none. There were not any apartments that were affordable for me.
Marlene Hates had the same job in Digby for 34 years, but her life was upended about 7 months ago. She says her landlord told her she'd be evicted because of a renovation. Like others in Digby County, she did what she had to do.
Never, never, never. I have never camped in my life. I'm 66 years old and I move into a camper. They're everywhere. You can go many places. I'm not going to mention roads and stuff because they're everywhere. People just can't afford housing. Can't afford mortgages to get the houses.
But Marlene's time in the camper's coming to an end. She'll be moving out of the trailer into a brand new apartment in Digby on April 1st.
Hey, Brian.
See your new home.
Coming in to see my new home.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Love the floors. Floors are beautiful.
Yeah.
Floors are really beautiful. Wow.
Yeah. Well,
wow.
It's going to make you a nice home.
It is. It is. I said, I'm going to stay here till I die. I ain't going no tide view.
There are 21 brand new units. Most of them are subsidized through Nova Scotia's affordable housing program.
The other subsidized project usually go according to your income. And if you had a higher income, you pay more rent. With this one, there's a ceiling on your income. So if you make X number of dollars per person, you can live in this. As long as you're below that threshold. If you're above it, you cannot live here.
217 people applied to live in one of these 21 units.
It almost makes me want to cry. I'm so excited. It's great. I'm so thankful to Brian for giving me a place. my heart.
More affordable housing is going up in Digby. The province is putting finishing touches on an 8-plex. The Digby and Area Housing Coalition plans to build a 34-unit affordable rental complex near downtown. More housing developments are approved for Digby, but they could still be years away.
What do you say to people like them who are in those situations and don't know when they're going to get out of them?
That is one of the issues that we have in town. You know, the residents of those apartments are afraid to say anything because there's nowhere to go, right? That's the unfortunate part. So, you know, we tell them, please come and talk to us and let us help you out, get the building inspector in there, the fire inspector in there, and you know, get things improved.
Back in Halifax, Christine Klomp says she would not have left the Digby area or her job if she could have found a place to live there. But now she's focused on rebuilding a home.
This house is heaven compared to the one in Brighton. There, we don't have to worry about water, as my grandson is very happy because we can drink the water here. And it's just clean. There's no mice. We're not cold now.
Portia Clark, CBC News, Digby.
Coming up, carbon politics. Federal party leaders spar over whether the newly scrapped consumer gas tax is really dead.
And made in Canada, one Quebec company is behind every authentic NHL jersey that's ever hit the ice. But Trump's tariffs could change that. Welcome back. As we told you earlier, Canada's consumer carbon tax is now officially gone. Liberal leader Mark Carney is taking credit on the campaign trail for ending it.
But Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre says it doesn't go far enough. The CBC's Alexander Silberman has more.
I mean, it's a relief, obviously, but
Canadians across the country waking up to a drop in prices at the pump.
It helps everybody, be more affordable because it's been kind of crazy lately.
The consumer carbon tax ending at midnight, lowering gas by more than 17 cents per litre after Mark Carney canceled the fee on his first day as Prime Minister last month.
Today, that change takes effect.
On the campaign trail, taking credit for the cheaper gas prices.
I'm a pragmatist. So when I see something that doesn't make sense, something that doesn't work, I change it.
Carney initially supported the tax, but changed course while campaigning for the Liberal leadership.
Axe the tax!
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, who made the tax a central part of his platform, claiming the Liberals will reinstate the full tax with no rebate after the election, and promising to also end the remaining industrial price on carbon.
Up until about 2 months ago, the Liberals said that if we didn't have a carbon tax, the whole planet would be lit aflame.
NDP leader Jagmeet Singh calling for protections to keep costs from climbing back up.
Let's watch very closely and see if these oil and gas companies jack up prices now.
The industrial price on carbon remains and could drive up to half of Canada's emission reductions by 2030, according to this expert.
The industrial system is only adding something like a Timbit worth of cost per barrel of oil generated. So the costs are low, even though the incentives, if these policies are designed right, remain really high.
The future of the industrial carbon price is now facing political headwinds, creating uncertainty for investors in emissions reduction projects, with many waiting to see what might happen after the election. Alexander Silberman, CBC News, Ottawa.
On the campaign trail today, Liberal leader Mark Carney reiterated plans to help make life more affordable for Canadians. But instead, he was dogged by questions on controversy surrounding former Liberal candidate Brian Chang. CBC's Olivia Stefanovic has more.
Liberal leader Mark Carney tried to turn the page today by promoting his affordability promises after his signature housing policy was overshadowed yesterday by questions about Paul Chang, who was running for re-election for the Liberal Party in the Greater Toronto area until he dropped out just hours after CBC News reported that the RCMP was looking into whether Chang broke the law after he suggested to people that they bring a Conservative candidate running in another riding named Joe Tay to the Chinese consulate to collect a bounty on him from Hong Kong police.
Mr. Chang made his resignation, offered his resignation last night. I accepted it. As I said yesterday, his comments were deeply troubling and regrettable. We will move on with looking for a new candidate for Markham.
Carney didn't make a new announcement today. Instead, he reiterated affordability pitches made earlier, such as the fact that he wants to introduce a middle-class tax cut and also double the pace of home building in this country as a way to strengthen Canada's economy in the face of looming U.S. tariffs. Carney also highlighted that with today being April 1st, it is the official end of the consumer carbon tax, which Carney called a divisive policy. Now, Carney officially ended this consumer carbon tax in his first act as Prime Minister, but this actually takes effect today on April 1st. And Carney says that consumers will notice changes at the pump right away, savings of up to 18 cents on average, but he does plan to keep the industrial carbon tax on big polluters, something that Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre vows to scrap. Olivia Stefanovic, CBC News, Winnipeg.
NDP leader Jagmeet Singh is vowing to push back against healthcare privatization in Canada.
Our Canadian healthcare system is not for sale and will never be for sale. New Democrats will ensure that.
Singh pushing back against what he called, quote, American-style healthcare during a campaign stop in Edmonton. He says the NDP would ban American corporations from buying up Canadian healthcare facilities and promised to crack down on clinics that charge Canadians for basic services. Singh accused the Conservatives for backing the expansion of for-profit care. He also criticized the Liberals for being soft on provinces like Ontario and Alberta, pushing private care models.
The Conservative Party has dropped a candidate in southwestern Ontario over remarks he made in the past. The party dropped Mark McKenzie because of comments it called, quote, unacceptable. McKenzie is a city councillor and former radio personality in Windsor, Ontario. It was first reported by CTV News after the broadcaster said it unearthed a 2022 podcast recording where McKenzie expressed support for public hangings and jokingly suggested Justin Trudeau should receive the death penalty.
The White House has revealed President Trump plans to unveil his global tariff policy on Wednesday, and America's trading partners will be watching closely, including Canadians. It comes amid growing concern in the U.S. over how policy is affecting inflation. Richard Madden is in the U.S. Capitol with the details.
The White House is previewing what they're calling Liberation Day on Wednesday, when President Donald Trump will announce sweeping reciprocal tariffs on all U.S. trading partners, including Canada. Now, administration officials say the amounts of tariffs on each country are being finalized, but will be based on what tariffs foreign nations put on American imports. The White House is also dismissing growing concerns that Trump's aggressive tariff policy could worsen inflation, tank markets, and sink the economy. They insist it's all part of their strategy to bring industries and jobs back to the U.S.
They're not going to be wrong. It is going to work. And the president has a brilliant team of advisors who have been studying these issues for decades. And we are focused on restoring the golden age of America.
Trump is also pressuring his own Republican senators to not support a resolution to lift the 25% blanket tariffs on Canada. Senate Democrats are calling to end the national emergency declaration on the northern border over fentanyl that Trump used to justify his tariffs.
We're here to stop a huge national sales tax being imposed on Americans through these Canadian tariffs that are based on a fake Canadian emergency.
Some Republicans representing border or farm states are worried Trump's tariffs would damage their integrated economies, and they've signaled they'll join the minority Democrats in this symbolic vote on the Senate floor.
We're asking for 4 Republican senators to actually go on record what they've all said privately. They're aghast at the tariffs.
And while it's highly unlikely this resolution will pass both chambers of Congress, any support from Republicans would be viewed as a political warning shot from Trump's own party against the president's expanded tariff and global trade war. Richard Madden, CBC News, Washington.
The U.S. Attorney General is directing prosecutors to seek the death penalty in the upcoming trial of Luigi Mangione. The 26-year-old has pleaded not guilty to murder and terror charges. He's accused of killing healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi says she is carrying out President Trump's agenda to stop violent crime. Mangione is currently awaiting trial in a New York State prison.
A volcanic eruption south of Iceland's capital is triggering evacuations near the small fishing town of Grindavik.
It's close to town, but it's a more calm eruption than the previous few we've seen. The problem is a part of the fracture actually opened up inside the barriers protecting the town.
While the current eruption appears small, there is a danger of lava flowing into the town. Some areas were evacuated after geologists warned that the eruption was imminent. The North Atlantic island nation has seen multiple eruptions in recent years. With its glaciers and volcanoes, the island is also known as the land of ice and fire. Experts say the so-called fissure eruptions could keep occurring for decades or even centuries.
Norman Jewison, one of Canada's most celebrated filmmakers, died early last year at 97. CBC News has since learned of an emotional and legal battle by his family to have contact with their father in his final years, and that his multi-million-dollar fortune was embroiled in an estate fight. Zach Dubinsky has that story.
I would like to thank my immediate loved ones my family.
26 years ago, Canadian filmmaker Norman Jewison looked to his first wife, Dixie, and children at the Academy Awards. The director was being honored for his body of work. Jewison lost his first wife of 51 years in 2004. Relations soured between some family members after Jewison married Lynn St. David in 2010. His sons accused his second wife of progressively isolating him for more than a decade prior to his death. Using a new California law, sons Michael and Kevin sued. They claimed she blocked them and became a gatekeeper, controlling his phone and email. The sons eventually reached an agreement out of court. Danny Kaiserman is behind the California law and says that's a positive outcome.
So you use this court petition to bring the issues to light, but after you file it, maybe you're able to work something out on your own.
Are there any options like that in Canada?
Not as crisply or easily. You can always apply to a court unless you're applying for guardianship to take over making decisions for that older person, if they've got a mental capacity issue. It's going to be a lot harder.
While the sons resolved access through mediation, family tensions continued around Norman Jewison's $30 million estate. CBC has learned Jewison's will was changed 2 months before he died, his children written out. Michael sued the estate, claiming that Lynn St. David Jewison exerted undue influence. Issues like this are common, Watts says, and setting aside a will is not an easy task.
One of the biggest concerns is, did you really know what you were doing when you changed it? Did you really understand the implications to the other family or the people that you're cutting out?
We contacted St. David Jewison about the allegations. She said they are unproven and, in her opinion, untrue. Michael has since settled his suit with St. David Jewison and the estate. Jewison's pride and joy was the Canadian Film Centre here in Toronto. He and his sons were at an event here in 2018. However, in legal documents, they claim they didn't even know their father was in hospice care in his final months, nor did they have a chance to say goodbye before he died. Zach Dubinsky, CBC News, Toronto.
A Canadian company that makes the jerseys for the NHL says Donald Trump's tariffs could spell an end for making them in Canada.
For the last 50 years, the authentic pro jerseys have been handmade in Quebec. Douglas Gelvin has that story.
For hockey fans, wearing a jersey to support your team for the big game is a time-honored ritual. But how Canadian is your Montreal Canadiens jersey? Well, it turns out quite a bit of it is, at least for now.
These jerseys are made here in Quebec in St. Hyacinthe, and they have been for 50 years.
Mike Quinn is the VP of Sales for SP Apparel. Every NHL jersey that's hit the ice since 1975 has come from them. Unlike the replica jerseys, which come from overseas, he showed us how the game jerseys are made.
It's not like a mass production line.
The yarn is imported from the USA. It's then spun into fabric on site. The fabric is then split and finished in a multi-million-dollar machine. Some designs require sublamination, basically a mega printer. Then everything is cut. A typical NHL jersey is around 100 separate pieces that are all stitched together by hand. The logos come pre-made from China. They are pressed into place, then secured by a worker with stitches. The last step is quality control before packing and shipping.
From beginning to end, right? It's being made here. We're very proud of that.
But being made in Canada comes with a price.
The labor is the big component because you're paying Canadian dollars, you're paying Canadian labor rates.
An authentic pro Canadiens jersey on NHL Shop, run by the American company Fanatics, which holds the contract to all NHL merchandising, starts at $499 plus tax. If you want to add a player's name and number onto the jersey, it's almost $600 plus tax. What's more, with 25 of the NHL's 32 teams based in the U.S., nearly 80% of everything made for the league in St. Hyacinthe could be hit with tariffs.
A 25% increase in the cost of a jersey to a Fanatics. That's a big number, right? On top of everything they're paying to play, to have their brand in the NHL. So could that mean that they look down the line to find alternative solutions? They probably will.
Trump all along said, we want those jobs to come back to the U.S. like they were in the 1970s and 1980s. And this is one of those things that's easily mobile.
We are vulnerable because the price has a certain elastic. Yeah. And how long you can stretch the elastic before it They flash in your face. We don't have the capacity to absorb that 25%, and the customer doesn't have the capacity to absorb that 25% increase.
CEO Steve Berard worries about what potentially losing the NHL contract would mean for his 250 employees.
We have a very good relation with the NHL. They really appreciate the product. They really appreciate the fact that it's made in Canada. It totally makes sense. But there's always the elastic that we're talking about.
If they relocate to the US and there is this wave of patriotism right now, do you decide then that you're going to boycott your Habs jersey, your Oilers jersey? I don't know that this is the type of thing that's going to really make the NHL pause beyond just it's a business decision.
In the end, the NHL doesn't have the final say on where the jerseys are produced. Its partner, Fanatics, does. SP Apparel says that the company hasn't given it any indication yet that it plans to make a change. Fanatics did not respond to our request for comment. Douglas Gellivan, CBC News, Montreal.
Canada's main stock index rose more than 100 points today, while U.S. markets were mixed the day before U.S. President Donald Trump is set to enact tariffs on a wide range of imports, including Canadian goods. Here's a look at the numbers as we head to break. Yeah, we're talking about the kind of wild night.
Yeah.
Getting
the April showers,
April showers. I was just going to say, wow, we got them all in one day.
Yeah, definitely a wet night. Much needed rain, though. It's been overall dry over the last 6-8 months, so we definitely need that rain. We'll get the April showers, Mayflowers. How many times will we say that over the next month?
A lot. That's sort of what gets us through the rain.
There will be more
right?
showers for sure.
It's true, and April flurries as well. And again, we had some of that icy mix over the last week or so, but you can see that the crocuses, they're hardy, aren't they? They're definitely hardy this time of year. They can endure it all. And
they have to be.
Yeah. Oh, that's determination, isn't it?
Right? Encased in ice.
Yeah.
Thanks to Bruce.
They will survive.
We're here, darn it.
Yeah. And they'll be enjoying the sun tomorrow, I dare say, opening back up. Bruce Berry, thank you so much for sharing this. Ryan's picks at cbc.ca. Okay, the timeline. Quiet tonight. Temperatures starting around the -4 to -5 range on Wednesday morning. Northwest winds, pretty breezy in the morning, 20 gusting to 40. Into the afternoon, we'll see those temperatures bumping up into the low single digits for most, 1 to 3, but a few cooler spots, no doubt. We'll see, especially in the north and east, closer to the freezing mark, 0 to -2. Those northwest winds persistent for Cape Breton. Now for Thursday, the winds shifting back to the southeast, and that is going to be ahead of our warm front, which is moving in throughout the day. The winds will shift to south and then southwest as the front comes through. Let's show you this timeline quickly. And quiet for Thursday morning. We'll get that morning commute in okay. The afternoon is going to be messy. Snow transitioning through ice pellets to freezing rain, and then eventually over to rain in the southwest by Thursday evening. That rain will then eventually take over across the province. Could see kind of a widespread 2 to 5 centimeters before that transition. And then, another system to watch for Sunday.
There's always another one, isn't there?
Busy time for you, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan. A Canada goose named Wilson, who spent months with an arrow lodged in his rump, is finally flying free.
You're free, Wilson. Go.
That's the moment Wilson the goose was released in Squamish, BC on Sunday. It's been a tough several months for him. He was shot with a blunt point training arrow last year.
And community members noticed the ailing bird and spent months trying to capture him so they could help Wilson rehabilitate.
Wilson rejoined his flock after his release, and if you're wondering, he was named after the volleyball in the movie Castaway, which is, of course, Wilson.
Yeah, well, that makes sense, I guess.
Overcome adversity in the end. That's good. That's it for us tonight. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Good night.
Good night.